Hey guys, welcome back to the Fergie Time podcast. Today, I will be grading how well every manager in the Premier League has done this season. I want to give a little disclaimer on how I'm grading these managers. I'm grading them on the expectations their club have for the season and whether or not they've met those. Starting off with Wolves, we have Nuno Santo. He's done an excellent job this season, right? Wolves had a fantastic season, a breakout season last year. And it was hard to say if they would be able to make it return again. And they did, right? They're in 7th place again, playing brilliant football, and are going deep into the Europa League, currently in the round of 32. Could make it to the semifinals or quarterfinals, in my opinion. So I think Nuno's done a great job this year, and I would give him an A-. Next, we have West Ham United, who appointed David Moyes on December 29th. So he's only been a manager for West Ham for a couple weeks, so it's kind of hard to grade him. But so far, he's done a decent job, right? West Ham got a statement win against Bournemouth, and it seems right away he's had some sort of impact on the players. We know this could be just a couple weeks, and maybe it'll start to dissipate, but he did have an immediate effect. So for that, I'm probably going to give him a C+, and we have to wait really for more matches to be played before I have a definitive grade for David Moyes. Next, Watford, Nigel Pearson, right? He also, another manager that came in kind of later. I think he was appointed December 7th. And since he's been appointed, Watford have vastly improved, right? I think they're undefeated in their last 4 matches. So he's had an effect as well, and they're playing better football. They're scoring more goals, which they were struggling to do at the beginning of the season. So I would give Nigel Pearson a B so far. He's done a very good job turning around what was a dreadful season for Watford. And I think his main focus for the rest of the season is going to be getting them out of that relegation zone. And if he's does that, I'd say he's been very successful this season, and he's already making strides towards that. So I give Nigel Pearson a B. Next, we have the infamous Tottenham manager, Jose Mourinho. And you know what? I think I'm going to surprise some people with this one. He's had a poor start to his Tottenham campaign, right? They've done very badly. I think they drew to Norwich. They had another loss to Southampton. And it's not been going well for them. And I know he hasn't been able to have a transfer window yet, but the quality of players there should warrant better results, especially from a manager like Mourinho, who has been touted the best in the world, even though I don't believe that. So I'm going to give Mourinho a C-, and you may say that's harsh, he's not had enough time, but from a world-class manager, you expect an instant change, and I don't know if he's been able to instill that in the locker room. We'll have to wait for next season. But so far this year, if he can't get Spurs into the top 4, I'm really going to start to question Mourinho. And as of right now, C-. Next, we have Southampton. And thanks to Danny Ings, they're currently in 12th place. Danny Ings had a fantastic December. So I would give Ralph Hasenhuttl, I would give him a C as of now. He's done a good job. Southampton have been a good team, but they did start relatively slow. And it is thanks to his players coming into form as recent. So it's the consistency that makes me give him a C. I think they've done a good job. This is roughly where I expected them to be in the table. So I think a C is very appropriate. He hasn't blown me away with any of his tactics, but he's been a solid manager, has instilled good tactical play within his team. They're hard to break down, except when they give up 9 goals in a match. But other than that, I've been relatively impressed with what he's done as a manager, and I'd say he's done what I expected. So that's going to be a C for Ralph Hasenhuttl. Moving on to Sheffield, we have Chris Wilder. I mean, I think you all know what my score is going to be for him. It's going to be an A. Sheffield United have absolutely shattered expectations this year. I was one of the many who said they were going to be returning to the championship. And what has Chris Wilder done? He's gotten this team into 8th position, fighting for the Europa League. I know, it is mental. And it's the system that he has them playing in. He has them playing in this system that works for Sheffield. He's not trying to do too much, but it's very well organized. And that organization allows them to go in and get big results against big clubs. I have to tip my hat off not only to Chris Wilder, but as well the players who have stepped up and who have performed in this well-organized system that he has them playing in. So Chris Wilder gets an A from me. Moving on to Norwich, Daniel Farke. This is a little disappointing, and I don't think this grade is fully fair to him, but I'm doing it partially based on our expectations for this season, right? When you don't spend any money in the transfer window, they spent less than $1 million. It's gonna be very hard to get any type of results in such a competitive league and where money plays such a major factor in the players and the quality of them. He hasn't had a team that's really has the quality of other Premier League sides. He's playing with less talent and having to manage less talented players. He's done a decent job, but he hasn't, they're so far out already. He hasn't really given them an opportunity to stay in the relegation battle. I'd say that it's pretty much certain now that they're going to be relegated. So I'm going to give him a D+ because of that. But definitely not all the blame on him. I would put a lot more blame on the executives of the club who weren't willing to go out and spend money last summer. Steve Bruce, Newcastle. This is the one that surprised me. I was thinking Steve Bruce is coming in, Newcastle is going down. Well, actually, with Steve Bruce, Newcastle have been slightly better than they were with Rafa Benitez. And do I think this will last? No. But so far it has, so I have to give him credit. And I'm going to give Steve Bruce a B-. Done a decent job with the club this year, right? They're very solid defensively, a very hard team to break down. My one criticism of Steve Bruce thus far is the attack. He can't seem to figure out a formation where Newcastle can score enough goals. And the issue is when John Joe's your top scorer, you're not going to do too well. And I think this is going to bite them in the butt the second half of the season, but they have been well organized so far. I think part of the issue is they're playing Joe Linton out of position. In Germany, Joe Linton played more as a 10 in the midfield rather than the main man up top, and he's not the best when it comes to lobbing through balls in behind. So I think that's a little tactical decision by Steve Bruce that I would criticize. Other than that, decent job, B-. Let's see how it gets on in the second half of the season. I'm going to say it's going to get worse from here, but they will stay up. So B- for Steve Bruce. Wow, an interesting one. A one that I am strongly tied to. Manchester United, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. What am I going to say? I'm a United fan. Wow, inconsistency. That's all I have to say to begin with. And because of this inconsistency, because of 1 week they're beating a top team, and then the next week they're losing to a team that's in the relegation battle, that's just what United season has been like, I'm going to give Ole Gunnar Solskjaer a C+. I think he's hit about expectations, which is I had them finishing in 5th, and they've hit it roughly. They're in 5th right now, but could I see them dropping? Perhaps. Could I see them moving up? Perhaps. But the issue with United is it's week to week. I haven't seen them put together 5 good matches in a row, right? And I know that's not the easiest task, but it seems like 1 week they're fantastic, and the next week you're like, what is this Manchester United? We can't even get a shot on goal. So I'm going to give Ole a C+ because I think he's done a good job, but does he have the command of the locker room? Does he have the respect of the players fully? I'm not sure. Is he tactically that great? I'm not sure. I like some of his ideas, trusting the younger players, playing a more open style of play, and empowering the players to get up the pitch and play more risky than some of the previous managers. But I don't know if his execution and perhaps maybe being more aggressive with the board and demanding them to bring players in January, strengthen the midfield, because you know that's a weakness. That would be my main criticism of Ole, so C+ for him. Next, we have Manchester City. Pep Guardiola, what am I going to give him, right? They're still in 3rd, but they definitely have disappointed this season. I'm going to give Pep a B+, right? City have looked good at times. They've struggled other weeks, a little inconsistent, but still a very good side. I think they'll end up finishing in 2nd. And sneak peek, I think they could win the Champions League. Anyways, back to the Premier League. They've looked poor defensively, right? Without Laporte, City's defense has been bad. And they don't have that replacement. Last year, if someone got injured, you could put Company back in there, and you knew he's a solid defender. John Stones, although he is good on the ball, struggles defensively. And because of that, they've moved Fernandinho in there. They've done a bunch of different things, and Pep hasn't found a solution yet. And because of that, I think a B+ is appropriate because they're still scored the most goals in the league, which is very impressive. But they haven't lived up to the expectations, or they haven't even kept it close in the title race. And then B, he can't seem to fix the defensive issues that keep plaguing them each week. So B+ for Pep Guardiola. Next, we have Liverpool's Jurgen Klopp. Liverpool are undefeated this season. So what other grade can you give him than an A+? Yep, Jurgen Klopp gets an A+, guys. It's an easy decision. Undefeated this season. This week in the FA Cup. I know this is not the Premier League and it's Premier League season, but this week in the FA Cup, he took a team consisting of 6 teenagers and beat Everton, who was with basically a full man squad, a team that they would start in a Premier League match. And he beat that Everton team. So Klopp can do it with anyone, it seems like, right now. And just the culture he's built at Liverpool, the way they're playing right now, I mean, you can't get this man anything other than an A+. He's just impressed all year. I thought City would win the league this year, and he's proved me wrong again and again, week in and week out. Jurgen Klopp gets an A+. Next, Leicester City. Another team that has done fantastic this year, and they've shattered expectations even more than Liverpool have. I mean, Leicester is a team that many people have pegged for mid-table, and Brendan Rodgers has come in and proved why he was a world-class manager. And I say world-class with hesitation because I don't fully buy into it, but he's done a bang-on job, right? He smashed it. And to be fair to him, there's lots of questions after he left Liverpool. And he's come in and he's answered them, right? He has Leicester playing good football. He has Vardy back at his best. He has them they're going to be in the Champions League next year because I know at this point they're going to get top 4. I don't see them falling out of there. So you have to give Brendan Rodgers an A because he's done a fantastic job with a group of talent. And Leicester are a very talented team, right? They've got a lot of very good players. But he's put that all together, and he's done a fantastic job. And the way it's come together, this couldn't be a better season for Leicester. I have to say, this couldn't be a better season for Leicester. And, I mean, he deserves all the praise he is receiving because they are doing very well. I give Brendan Rodgers an A. Everton, Carlo Ancelotti, right? Another more recent signing, but he's been in a couple matches, so I think it's easy to give him a definitive grade, right? Everton are now climbing the table. They've had some pretty good results. They've had some inconsistencies. He's done a good job with what he has. It's pretty standard stuff from Ancelotti, but it definitely is a better team with him there, right? We're seeing a harder team to break down, better defensively. They're still having issues finishing, but overall a better side and a less vulnerable side. But as we saw against Liverpool, not all those changes have been made. I think in order for Ancelotti to really prove himself, he's going to need a transfer window just because the talent at Everton isn't similar to that of other clubs. But as of right now, I give him a B. They're moving up the table. If he can get them into the top half of the table, get them around 8th or 7th, I think this would be a very productive year for Carlo Ancelotti. Crystal Palace, and a man many people, including myself, wrote off after his managerial career with England. Roy Hodgson. Roy Hodgson has surprised me this year. I was thinking Crystal Palace weren't going to be as good. They lost Wan-Bissaka. Zaha was potentially on the move. And so far, he smashed it, right? Although they've scored, I think, the second fewest goals in the Premier League, they're still in the top half of the table. They're doing fantastic. He's put together a very good and structured defense that is hard for most teams to break down. And you know what? Although they're struggling to score, that defense is what keeping them in that top half of the table. Because I think they've only conceded 23 to 25 odd goals. And because of that, he's done a fantastic job. I have to be fair to Roy Hodgson. And I'm going to give him a B because Palace was a team I thought was going to slip from last season, but he's actually made them better so far. And I do believe they will slip a little on the table. But still, fair play to Roy Hodgson. Gets a B from me. Wow, this is going to be a controversial one. I see people going all over the spectrum on this one. Frank Lampard and Chelsea. Frank Lampard, they're still in the top 4. They've made it to the Champions League round of 16. I mean, what more could you ask from him? Before the season, I was very questionable about how Chelsea would do. I was thinking more around 6th, and they could still drop there. But as of right now, I give Frank Lampard an A-. He's exceeded expectations. They've had some inconsistencies, but he seems to be rebounding from it all right. So I give Frank an A- on the basis that he's exceeded expectations. He's done it with young talent without using a transfer window yet. And now that he has $150 million to spend reportedly during the winter transfer window if he wants, I see him getting a couple players, strengthening the squad, and I see Chelsea having a better second half of the season. I think they will stay in the top 4. I believe the young players are gonna find some consistency, and I have to say fair play to Frank. I do doubt some of his squad selection, but still, very good manager and has done a great job so far this season. Burnley and Sean Dyche, right? They haven't impressed me this season, but they seem to get results, right? They're a decent side. I don't love their style of football. It's pretty predictable. And I think that's leading to some of their struggles as of recent. I think they've lost 3 straight. But they do get results. They're a hard team to play against. And they've basically done what I expected them. No one expected Burnley to be out there and moving high up the table. But everyone did expect them to stay up. And they've done that. And it's not the best brand of football. It's not pretty necessarily to watch. But they get the job done. Sean Dyche takes a group of players that are talented, but not anything special, and is producing a product that will keep Burnley up this year. And you have to say, very organized, a pretty hard team to break down. I don't think they are as good as defensively as I thought they were going to be, but still a good defensive team. And I'm going to give him a C+ on this one, because C, I would say, is about what I expected or average, and he's done a little more than that, but he hasn't necessarily impressed me. This is what I expected. So C+ for Sean Dyche. Brighton, Graham Potter, right? I thought after Chris Hughton was sacked that Brighton would have no chance at staying up this season. I had them pegged 18th, if I recall my prediction correctly. But Brighton have impressed me. They're in 14th. I believe they will stay up this year. And it's more the style of football that's impressing me, right? Graham Potter has told these players, let's play an open brand of football. Let's move the ball. Let's get forward. Let's take risks. And it's rewarded them. Before they were sitting back, they were a hard team to break down, and they still are. But they would sit back and play your classic 4-4-2, like older brand of football. And now Graham Potter stepped in and inserted this new style of football, and they look like a better team. So I'm going to give him a high score. I think this could be a little high. Let me know in the comments. I'm going to give him a B+. Just because not only the risks he took to play this new brand of football, but the results he's getting because of it. And I think it's something that he could have gotten wrong, but he's stuck with it. He's instilled it in their players, and he has a good group of players to build around. And I'm going to give him a B+, because I do believe they will stay up and do a pretty good job in the second half of the season. This has been a disappointing season for Eddie Howe in Bournemouth. Eddie Howe, a manager who is seen as one of the better ones in England because he always exceeds expectations, is what I'm trying to say. And he hasn't done that with Bournemouth. If anything, he's been kind of shocking. Bournemouth, right? A team I expected to finish near mid-table, and now they are in the relegation battle in 18th position. Very disappointing. Eddie Howe, I think he's struggling to get the best out of his players. He struggled to get the best out of Ryan Fraser, struggled to get the best out of Callum Wilson, and it is concerning. I don't think you sack Eddie Howe as of yet. I think he can do enough to get Bournemouth up, but there's something not right there between the players and the manager, the relationship. There's something not quite right. And as of right now, I'm going to give him a D because they have just disappointed this season, and I expect much better from Bournemouth. And I think he will turn around the second half of the season, but a D as of right now is fitting for what they've done, and I think he's disappointed. Aston Villa, Dean Smith. I think they've basically done what we all expected. They spent $100 million, so I believe they're going to stay up. I know we've seen Fulham do that last season, but they have a good quality of players, and I think they stay up. I think the two main things for Dean Smith are stay up this season, keep the club in the Premier League, and then keep Jack Grealish. And so far, he's done both. So I'm going to give him a C. He's done what I expected. It's average. It's not been sensational. I've not been, oh, Villa, what a side. What the football they're playing. They're brilliant. No, I haven't been that. But I haven't also been like, wow, what is he doing? Like, they don't look great. I'm saying they've done what I expected. They're staying up as of right now, and they're sitting in 17th. And Jack Grealish is still at the club, and he's doing well, and they have some good young players, so I'm going to give Dean Smith a C. Our final one, a big one, Mikel Arteta. I made a video a couple weeks ago saying why Arsenal should hire Mikel Arteta. And so far, I'd say I'm right. Results have been iffy here and there, but we're starting to see them turn around. And the fight he's instilled with the players, the new culture that he's instilled with the players, I think is something you can see right away. And because of that, I'm going to give him a B. Right, this may be a little early because the results haven't totally turned. We saw impressive performance against Man United, but I think we're going to see it in the second half of the season. I think Mikel Arteta will be a very good manager going forward for Arsenal Football Club. I think they found their long-term solution. And even right now, it's the little details. It is the players on the pitch fighting for every ball. You see Mesut Ozil playing the world-class brand of football that he should be playing. He's that good of a player. Mikel Arteta can unlock that, and I think he can do that with that in the Arsenal, the entire Arsenal side. Give him a couple transfer windows, and I'm telling you, this man is the real deal. And so far, I'm going to give him a B, but I definitely think by the end of the season or next year, he will move up to the range of Jurgen Klopp, Pep Guardiola in terms of a manager who deserves an A. So that's it. Mikel Arteta gets a B from me. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to smash that like button. Let me know if you want more of these styles of videos, and follow me on Instagram at the Fergie Time Podcast. Thank you, and take it easy. Peace.